usually when I talk to teachers, the question I get is, well, aren't there things that we can do for, I get that we're supposed to see the glass half full, not half empty. I get that we're not supposed to see kids from deficit perspectives. I get that we're supposed to focus on what they bring instead of focusing on what they don't bring. But aren't there sort of universal sort of obstacles for English language learners? Aren't there sort of syntactic or lexical hurdles, or challenges, or things like, can't we focus on that for a second? And the answer is no, nothing. But I do want to reframe it, right? I do want to say, like, even these challenges can be reframed as opportunities to explore and expand students' linguistic repertoire, right? So one of the challenges, right now I'm taking a 2-day break from teaching a second language acquisition course at the University of Texas. And in that course, we talk a lot about this notion of sort of avoidance, right? Interlanguage, cross-linguistic influence. And this idea of avoidance is that some kids, English learners, when they're acquiring English, maybe, let's say they're not making a lot of mistakes or grammatical errors, for example, with respect to a particular feature. Maybe it's the third person singular S, or the past tense ED marker, or ing ending. Whatever it is, maybe they're not making a lot of mistakes, and so you think they've acquired that form, right? But what could actually be happening is that they're avoiding it, either intentionally, consciously, or subconsciously, because they haven't acquired it, right? And we know that this is a phenomenon that people do. English learners sometimes avoid what's hard for them. How many of you have ever learned Spanish in your life? How many of you kind of had trouble with the subjunctive? How many of you have deliberately gone out of the way to not use the subjunctive, right? That's avoidance. One thing that English learners avoid sometimes is phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs, right? But I want to reposition phrasal verbs as something that could be a challenge for some English learners, but could be a resource they already have in their toolkit, right? There's no way of knowing unless you actually unpack kids' toolkits with them and see what they bring. They could have vast knowledge of phrasal verbs, or they could have a lot of trouble with phrasal verbs. What are phrasal verbs? Y'all familiar with phrasal verbs? Two-part verbs, right? Idiomatic, multi-word verbs. They're formed by combining a verb with a part, either a preposition or an adverb. So here are some examples. We're going to hand out a handout in a second, actually, very soon. Get up, turn on, give back, throw away, put up with, be in for. Don't read, actually, Dr. Morales, I'm sorry. Can I ask you to hold up for 1 second? Sorry, you're already counting, I apologize. We'll hand out in a second. You see on the back of that handout are some examples of phrasal verbs, so you can take those with you. But for now, just focus on the ones that are up here. Turn on, give back, throw away, put up with, be in for, come up with. These are phrasal verbs, because the phrase itself acts as the verb in that sentence, right? So it's not just get that is a verb, it's get up together. That acts as a verb, the whole entire phrase. That's why it's called a phrasal verb. Well, why do we need to know this? Because you use phrasal verbs every single day. I've used a bunch of them already, speaking with you. You use them more than you realize. Native English speakers, quote unquote, use them all the time. And they can be tremendously challenging and difficult for English learners. When I taught English abroad in the Czech Republic and in Mexico, some students have had a great degree of difficulty learning these phrasal verbs. And there's two reasons why, right? One is because phrasal verbs often convey meanings that vary significantly from the original meaning of the verb. So think about throw up. If you have an English learner who just got here yesterday from another country, and they know the verb to throw, and they know the word up, the preposition, how do they know that means vomit? I mean, yeah, there's upward motion involved, but that's an idiomatic meaning. They don't know that throw up means vomit. Hold on, they know hold and they know on. They don't necessarily know that means wait. Oh, hold on. Turn in, right? Turn in. They don't know that means submit a paper, an assignment, right? They don't know that it means I'm going to go into my bedroom for the night and go to sleep. I'm going to turn in. Give up. Give up. They don't know that means, right? Surrender. Hang out. Associate with your colleagues. I'd say these are idiomatic meanings. Another problem is that these phrasal verbs often have multiple meanings, right? Take off can mean I'm taking off my shoes, which I'll spare you. But also, like what a plane does when it leaves the ground.